Welcome, everyone, to an episode of the Cannabis Community Insider. Today, we have a wonderful topic. We're going to be talking about organic and sustainable farming practices within the cannabis industry. And my guest today, I am pleased to say, is Diane Downey. In 2015, Diane teamed up with partner Chris Bechler, and they created Spirit Cannabis Farms, and they are located out in Eugene, Oregon. I can't wait to hear from you, Diane, and find out about your practice with farming. And so many of us are interested in organic now, not only for our own health, but the earth and the sustainability. So welcome and take it away.
Thank you very much. I guess I'm wondering, first of all, what you're most interested in. Where should I start? Where can I begin?
Sure. I'm really curious why you chose even to get into cannabis briefly. I think you had a teaching background. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a high school English teacher for 30 years, and my husband's really the one who got us into it. He had his own construction business and was tiring of that. And so when Oregon decided, Oregonians voted to make recreational marijuana legal, we decided to go for it. I have a ranching and farming background, and so we mortgaged our house and bought a little farm and started up our business. We have a family friend whom we call Uncle Mark, who went to prison in the 1990s for growing marijuana, and he died in prison, and that was really sad for us. And so we decided to resurrect him, so to speak, with our farm, and so that's why we're called Rebel Spirit, because Mark's our rebel.
Oh, and it is a beautiful and touching story, and it is on your website too. And it's always been touching. And I would love to add that it's gotten you involved with the Last Prisoner Project as well. Is that?
Yes, it is. We do profit sharing with Last Prisoner Project, and we also head up their Roll It Up program here in Oregon, working on fundraising for them. It's part of the social justice portion of why we're here. It's really criminal is the best way to say it, that there are still about 40,000 people in prison for marijuana offenses. Most of them, honestly, people of color, whereas most people who are profiting in the legal marijuana industry are white. So it's just another manifestation of inequity in our society that Rebel Spirit feels a real responsibility for helping to make right.
Wow, it's quite a passion and a story and a reason behind it. But what made you decide to do organic versus, so many of the indoor grows and the mass, markets that they do? How did that come about?
Organic is really no pun intended, a natural thing for us and for our ethic and for the way we operate. We're really integrity first. We believe strongly in environmental sustainability, and that's organic. We also believe that marijuana, if it's not pure, can actually be dangerous if there are pesticides or other contaminants involved in it. So we wanted to make sure from the very beginning that our consumers knew that they were getting a pure product. So one thing that's been great for us is that from the beginning, we've never had product kicked back. All of our product is tested in Oregon. Every 15 pounds has to be tested for purity. So we've never had problems with that, whereas other farms can have their whole crop rejected if they've used the wrong pesticide. So we just use all natural citrus oils and things to help us with our pest control. We've got ladybugs and frogs, so our farm is living and our soil is living. So the health benefits of things being organic to consumers are very important to us. But as, or maybe even more important, it's all part of a web of life, is the health of the soil. Most people, I think, don't know that inorganic nutrients in the soil deplete the soil. Inorganic nutrients in the soil actually deplete the soil. Let me explain why. So when it comes to organic, there are two things to worry about. One is what's being put on the plant. Are there pesticides being put on the plant? And that's going to be really terrible for the end user. But also, how is that plant being nourished? And so when I put inorganic nutrients on the soil, it helps the plant to take up those nutrients. And so you get this big, gorgeous plant, but the soil then is completely depleted. And so in the next crop, you need even more chemicals on the soil to get the plant to produce. And you go through a few growing cycles of that, and you've got dead soil. And it's contributing to creating a dead planet, really. And I don't think that I'm being catastrophic about that. It really is happening. And so with organic farming, the soil itself is organic. So we don't feed our plants, we feed the soil. People who use chemical fertilizers are feeding the plants and encouraging the plants to strip the soil. We get that soil alive, we feed the soil, and then the soil gives the plants what it can. And it makes us feel really good about what we're doing for the planet. There's no runoff from our farm of fertilizers into waterways. As I said, we've got bugs and frogs and snakes that live right among us and help to create the biodiversity that we need. In addition, we have chickens and turkeys on our farm. We provide all of our employees with fresh eggs. We have an organic vegetable garden on our farm that the employees help with, and that feeds our employees as well. So it's part of the ethic for us of having a really holistic approach to farming and a holistic approach to business. One thing about organic farming that can be problematic is that it is expensive. Those chemical fertilizers and pesticides ultimately are less expensive to use than organic products. And the plants grow bigger and the plants produce more because, as I said before, they're stripping the soil. So it's actually much more cost effective for companies to use chemicals. And that's why they do it. That's why they do it. So for us, it's been a little bit, we count on our consumers to share our values and to want to help the planet and to take care of their own health by buying organic. It also means that we as a company accept maybe a little lower profit margin than we know we could have if we used chemicals.
Wow, that's huge, because I mean, I want to say thank you. I mean, it means so much for you to put that effort out and not just be a greedy, corporation that just, wants to have the giant, I don't want to put everybody down, but at the same time, I mean, you're creating something that generations can benefit from, with your land and, that sustainability, and then our health, because the cannabis plants, I mean, you hear and you see posts out in social media that, oh, hemp will save the world. It can do everything and it can clean the soil. Well, as you and I know, and maybe, it's part of our educating, hemp is Cannabis sativa L. It's the same plant as well. We have different varieties, different cannabinoids in there, but it actually takes whatever you're feeding that soil and it takes it up, and that's what we are consuming. And it's like a food for us too.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, we should really look at and then the inhalation, since a lot of people do, consume their cannabis, by inhaling it, that could be detrimental to our health and our lungs.
Yes, definitely. definitely.
Hearing more and more about the runoff issues and the problems with with large farming industries, and we're going to have to start addressing that and recycling. So, what were your thoughts?
Well, we really are. So part of our environmental commitment has to do with sustainability in the way we grow as well, not just with using organic nutrients and things, but also by mainly growing greenhouse and outdoor product. We have some indoor spaces, but those are used to keep our moms alive during the winter time, and they're used for research and development and for cloning and things like that. But all of our propagation, all of our cultivation takes place outside. And there are so many common sense reasons for that. The first is the sun. Why should we contribute to the carbon footprint by using electricity to artificially grow our plants? That electricity oftentimes will come from coal-powered plants and things, and so it's just ruining the planet. When we have the sunshine, we've got solar power right there. The other thing about indoor growing has to do with the HVAC systems, the ventilation systems that have to go with it. When in growing indoors, mold can be a problem. There are all kinds of temperature control issues that have to be taken care of that are also huge energy suckers. Whereas for us, we've got the wind. That's our ventilation system, is the wind. 3/4 of our grow is in greenhouses, and so we can roll up the sides. We do have fans sometimes to keep the air moving in the greenhouses, and then 25% of our grow is outdoors. With the outdoor grow, we have one harvest a year that we take from that. But with the greenhouses, we get 2 to 3 harvests a year, which it's not as many as you might get from an indoor grow, but it's pretty good, and it's worth the sustainability and the energy savings.
So you have a gentle climate in Oregon, though, too, right? So you have that a little bit longer season for.
Yes, we have a very long growing season. We can start in March and don't have to be done till November 1st or so. So yeah, we do have a very long growing season. I think that as the cannabis industry matures and as we get national legalization, we're going to find that cannabis, as other commodities, ends up being grown in warmer, more temperate climates, just because of the economics involved with that, and the real necessity of using solar. Another reason that we use a sun and soil method has to do with the terpenes. And so terpenes are the things that make plants flavorful. So an orange has its terpenes, lemon has its terpenes, a pine tree has its terpenes. So if you go out into nature and you smell sage or you smell lilac, you're smelling terpenes. So terpenes are not something that are peculiar to cannabis. All plants have them. And they get the terpenes from the soil. And so having that living soil creates a richer tasting plant, which we really value. I know that some people, and we are craft cannabis growers, I know that there's a push by some in the industry to have cannabis flower be extremely uniform. And I will say that I think that that's a worthy goal, but somebody who wants something to be super uniform, the more uniform it gets, the less natural it's going to be. And so if you really want a uniform, super uniform product, it's going to be more artificial. It'll be processed, it'll be a distillate, and so on and so forth. But we can have a strain that we grow here in Oregon and have it taste and be one way, take that strain, say to California, and depending upon where it's grown and what the soil is like there, the taste is going to be different, in the same way that there are grape growing regions that produce grapes that taste a certain way. Or even onions. Walla Walla onions are just delicious and sweet, and when we bring them and grow them here in the Willamette Valley, they're just not quite as good as the ones grown in Walla Walla, Washington.
Oh, and I want to say, is there a standard? Like, I mean, there's, since it's not FDA approved in cannabis and federal, is there any standards for organic?
Yes,
practices?
There are some outside certification agencies that for a fee will come into the farm, and so Clean Green, they'll certify that you're growing according to these practices. And we don't have those certifications, but we do have our organic growing practices. In a way, it's another added cost for those who are organic. And we're looking forward to when we do get to put that USDA organic stamp on it and have it really be official. Because by law, we're not allowed to say organic on our packaging. We can't say all natural, which is what we are. And for us, all natural means organic.
Oh, wow. And I love how you brought up with the terpenes, and and the whole profile of your plants is going to be, so it sounds like it's going to be much more in depth, than trying to do this artificially.
Yes.
Yeah, and it gets frustrating. I work with a lot of medical patients, and I am a medical patient, and I do understand the need and the desire for wanting a stable product and be able to dose, but so many of us, and I'd say probably the majority, really just want a quality, full spectrum, the real whole plant, so that we can have a profile in there and just have traditional tinctures. We're actually just extracting what people like you can offer us, rather than those isolates and distillates and adding terpenes back in. Man can't recreate what nature grows anywhere near, as good.
And I think as the cannabis industry matures, it's going to be like the rest of the world of consumables, where you're going to have people who prefer all natural products and people who prefer the same experience every single time. So if I eat a cherry Lifesavers, I know it's going to be the same. I have my cherry Lifesaver. If I eat a cherry from a tree, one is going to be better than the other right next to it. And honestly, I'd rather eat a handful of cherries than a handful of Lifesavers.
Yes, I agree. Oh, so I love that the quality, and that standard is going to be higher. What is it? Is it a cost difference for the consumer? I know your profit is lower. How about with the consumer? And I know you're going to have to be able to speak mainly in the markets that you're in, the states that you work in.
Right. I will say that the consumers in Oregon, at least, don't pay that much more for organic, if any at all. And the reason is that the ethic in Oregon is for organically grown everything. And so I don't have any statistics on the percentages, but a good number of growers in Oregon grow organically. And honestly, if I had our sales manager here, he could speak more to that. But there isn't a huge difference, I don't think, in price to the consumer at this point in time. There are other things about sustainability that we've struggled with. One is packaging. We have an ethic not to use plastic packaging. And so our packaging is biodegradable and recyclable. And we make it look as nice as we can and stay within those bounds, and to try to keep costs down as well. So those are all challenges that we have to do is because having natural packaging
Yes.
is also more expensive than using plastic, and we don't use plastic to package our pre-rolls.
Absolutely. And it makes sense. You've done all this other, work to ensure, that sustainability and the environmental factors. So to throw in the recyclable package and biodegradable makes sense. And I have a real question from someone that I had read out there because I was bragging about your packaging. And they asked, is it a foil? What kind of a insert is there? Are they
I
sealed
will
in
say that
something?
it's not completely. We have in Oregon, we sell 10 packs. In California, we sell 8 packs. And in Oregon, there are 2 strains in every pack. And so there will be 2 Mylar little baggies inside of the cardboard packaging. And so there is a little bit of a vapor barrier, I guess, for lack of a better word, but that the consumers are going to be throwing away is minuscule compared to if the whole package were plastic, or especially if it were that hard plastic that ends up in the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, and Diane, I know you know this yourself, that the dispenser, it's just a huge bin of plastic and glass that and batteries and things
Yeah.
that really need to be addressed with recycling. I think, unfortunately, we're creating a new epidemic, with our wonderful cannabis industry that we have in the nation. But
Yeah.
we've got to start addressing that, and you're on top of it right there. So, and I want my cannabis fresh too, and my terpenes staying in there. So I do want it sealed up. That's nice. I mean,
And this is one reason that we don't we sell shatter and wax, but we don't do the vape cartridges because of one of the reasons has to do with that environmental waste. The other reason has to do with there was the inhalation scare that happened because of impurities a couple years ago. And at that time, we felt really happy that we weren't in that we didn't have those products out on the market. So again, we're just really working on staying as close to natural in every way as we can. I will say that when it comes to, say, one of our edible packages has a window, and I paid extra to have cellophane over that window rather than plastic, because cellophane is biodegradable. So there are little things that we can do that cost a little bit more, and most people maybe don't know that cellophane is biodegradable, but it is. And so there are little things that we try to do all the time.
Excellent. Well, I don't know, it means a lot as a consumer, I think, to know these things. So I'm glad we can get some of this information out for you. What about, I have to touch a little bit more on the soil that you're talking about. You actually make your own soil. You don't go out and buy organic soil from somewhere that's in a package. Or tell us a little bit about that. And I want to stop and also say, if anyone wants to learn more, there's going to be a series of blog articles that go, more in depth on Rebel Spirit Cannabis's practices, their sustainability, how it impacts, and more details. And that'll be on their website, as well as we're going to be sharing those out into the community so you can all read that, and we'll give you all the links as well. So, but go ahead, tell us about this living soil, and what does it mean to have living soil?
Well, first of all, we were really fortunate to buy our farm in an alluvial plain, so just a very it's super rich. The soil itself is called Silcum loam, I believe. And so the soil is super rich. It can have a tendency to pack down a little bit. It's got some clay in it. And so we need to add fiber to that soil. And so we have, I guess it looks like a dirt yard, so to speak. So we'll have piles of our soil from our earth, and then piles of compost, and so on and so forth. Then we have a huge soil mixer It's just as big as your kitchen. And so we take a front end loader and take dump truck loads, almost as if you're baking a cake with a KitchenAid mixer, but we're mixing our soil. So we take front end loader loads of perlite and organic compost that we make ourselves, and the soil from our land. And we mix that all up, and then we use that for our plants. And I will say that mixing our own soil is really a year-round process. We have our own worm farm, so we've got our own worm castings, so that's part of it. But also, when marijuana is harvested, those stalks are stiff like bamboo. They are very, very stiff. And so we run those through a wood chipper at the end of the season, and that spits it out. And then that becomes part of our compost. And so that compost has to cook down, so to speak. So you let the compost sit, it sits all winter long, and we're adding all kinds of plant matter to that compost. And then that goes back into the soil when we mix it up again the next spring. And so all of those organic teas and those organic nutrients that we're putting on the soil, we do purchase organic bat guano and so on, that ends up not being used once. It gets used over and over again as the soil and the plants re-nourish themselves. Wow. with our soil mixing practices.
Wow, I don't laugh, but I actually order vermicompost worm castings.
Yeah,
organic farm, because I don't even know where to find it. So that's great. You've got it right in house.
Right, we do. I think that, and as far as being organic goes, that is a huge cost savings for us. To buy organic soil is very expensive. And furthermore, we're not quite sure it's organic. They say it is. Yeah. But without that certification, it's hard to know. And so when we mix our own soil, we have a better handle on knowing what's going in there.
Yeah, just like, making your own foods in your kitchen. You know what goes in it because you're in control of putting the ingredients in your big mixer you have. So yeah, I'd love to see that process. That's wonderful. So, well, thank you so much. And we're going to look forward to reading more about these practices that you have.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like Rebel Spirit Cannabis. It really is I know it's a team effort out there, and I know it's definitely a way of life, and, more than a brand for you all, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And someday maybe we could get our master grower to come on. He's way more knowledgeable than I am. But I really appreciate your patience with me as I've stumbled through trying to explain all this.
No, it's as if you're out there doing it too. And I know that, you do have that hands-on, and this has been, informative, and I really appreciate it. And it's important, I think, for all of us to understand these differences. So we thank you, and for your passion too, and to the environment and our health.
All right. Thank you very much, Penelope.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for listening today. And please, visit the community, check out the websites for, what's your website, Diane, and all your
we're www.rebelspiritcannabis, all one word, .com.
Excellent. And again, I will drop all the links. I'll send you to their Instagram, their Facebook, their blog articles, their directory listing, and their website. So we'll get you covered everywhere and spread the good, the good news about Rebel Spirit. And if you're new to the cannabis community, please visit our website. It's thecannabiscommunity.org. You can join our support community groups. They're private places where you can share your experiences, talk about medical cannabis, learn from others in a private, safe space for yourself. And visit our directory also that's on the website and connect with great brands like Rebel Spirit Cannabis. So thank you all again, and till next time, to good health. Thank you.